and they used to have a Spanish service in the afternoon. It's like a smaller, maybe like 20, 30 people. And the pastor there, he was give me $20 to play keys, and I was the only musician. So I play keys for the service in the afternoon.
How long? Hour and a half?
Something like that, an hour and a half. And man, many weeks like those $20 were like the only money I had for the whole week.
Wow.
Which, like, if I go back and try to think about it, I can't think of. I don't know how I was able to live or do anything.
Yeah, one of the
it makes no sense.
What would you splurge on? Like a hamburger?
that was a time.
A milkshake?
That was maybe like a month or close to 2 months. That like almost every day I would have one meal a day, and the only thing that I could afford was I go to McDonald's to get the dollar menu.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which was, at that time, it was $1.
Sure, yeah.
So I used to get the double cheeseburger, Mac chicken, and a small drink, and it was $3.25 with taxes.
Oh, you were living large then.
Yeah, and that was my only, and somehow I still gain weight walking around, but eating that one meal a day.
Come on in, buddy. Have a seat. Yeah. Watch your head, watch your step. There's a lot of things that can trip you up. Yeah. This is it. This is my bachelor pad. How are you? We're getting right to it. Right to it.
Go for it.
Yeah. When you've used these mics before, a time or two, right?
Yes, a couple times.
How was last night?
Man, that was pretty fun. I hadn't done a gig with Andrew in a while.
It looked like you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And playing with Dave Scher.
I know.
And
Dave Scher. Yeah.
Dave Scher and then Dane Farnsworth. And I forget the drummer's name.
Brendan Temple. Brendan's a legend.
I heard he's won a Grammy or two or something like that, right?
Yeah, he's played with a bunch of people like Shaka Khan, and he's with Ruthie Foster and a bunch of other people.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And I didn't know you're kind of neighbors with Dave Scher here.
Really? Does he live around the bend somewhere?
Yeah. I was driving here and I'm like, this is Dave's neighborhood. I think it's like 2 blocks from here.
Okay. Yeah. It's a nice little neighborhood, nice and quiet, just the way I like it.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird living in cul-de-sac because for whatever reason, people like to use it as a turnaround. And like I'll see random cars coming through and I'm like, I don't know who they are.
I live in a cul-de-sac too.
Yeah.
And I'm like the last house just like this.
Yeah.
Same thing.
I'm like keeping watch over my neighborhood. I don't know that person.
So I got to have some Ring cameras and things just in case.
You know, I haven't invested in a Ring camera and I think that's my next investment. I feel like they're needed in a house right now.
I think it's good, especially like my neighborhood's pretty safe. But packages and or just people leaving stuff there.
Yeah.
You know, it's doesn't hurt.
So yesterday, did you guys rehearse at all?
Oh, we never rehearse with Andrew.
See, that is the amazing thing about you musicians is like, I mean, you guys put on a spectacular performance all around. Andrea obviously was the highlight of the night, but just the fact that you guys didn't rehearse. Is it because you guys been playing so long together, you kind of know each other's patterns?
In a way, but also like Andrew likes to have that, just have something fresh and new every time.
Yeah.
So even when we do the same songs, it's like it's different every time.
Yeah. And
she likes that.
Do you like that?
Also. I do. I've done a lot of it, which I kind of like those. I like, you got to have a certain level of preparation, which at this point with Angel, like we don't rehearse or anything. I've played with her enough times, you know, but like the first gigs, you know, I had to kind of learn the songs and get familiar with them.
And for those first gigs, did you guys rehearse?
No, I don't think I've ever rehearsed with Andrew.
Do you rehearse ever with any band?
Yeah, okay, it happens. Yeah.
Or you're just that good?
She's just not one of them.
Okay. So with all these things, like to get into the history of where you come from, how you got into it, and all that stuff. So you're not from America, are you?
No, I'm from Brazil.
Right on.
Rio de Janeiro.
Can you give me a little Portuguese? Like, how was your day? How did your day start?
Meu dia até agora está bem. Acordei pouco tarde, tomei café e vim pra cá.
It sounds a little bit like Spanish in there, but
it's a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of like Spanish. It's a little bit of French in a way.
Okay.
Certain words sound like French.
It's a very beautiful language. I wish I could speak it, but I can't.
Yeah, it's the interesting thing I didn't realize until I moved here. And maybe it's the exposure to the language, but Like Brazilian people, they can understand Spanish more than Spanish-speaking people can understand Portuguese.
Interesting. Okay.
At first, which is, I don't know, maybe just exposure. Even in Brazil, we weren't really exposed to Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
There's like no Spanish shows or anything like that. It's all Portuguese or English with subtitles.
Yeah.
But
so you were born there, right?
yeah,
How long did you live there for?
until I turned 18.
18.
Yeah, and then I went to Florida first. My
Nice.
original plan was to go to California.
Yeah.
Everything was like a completely unplanned. From the moment that even became a conversation to the day that I arrived in the States was exactly a week.
Wow.
You're just like, oh, just gonna go, and then all of a sudden I was in Florida, with plans to go to California. Ended up never making it to California, and then met some people, some musicians from Brazil that were in Florida, and they were moving to New York.
Okay.
And I was 18 years old by myself, and they're like, hey, if you want to do music, New York's the place to be, blah blah blah. And I never considered New York, but a few months later, I was like, I'll take a chance, and that's where I live most.
Right
of my
around
life.
this time, what year was that? That you were.
That was 2000.
2000. Okay.
So I arrived on Thanksgiving Day of 1999.
Wow.
In Florida, yeah.
And did you have like, internet wasn't as big as it was as it is now. So
no, it wasn't.
What was your what were you what was your thought about New York? What did you think it was?
I mean, you knew from movies and search TV, but I remember even after I moved there years later, sometimes I would walk, around Times Square or Central Park or something, and it would hit me. I was like, oh crap, I live in New York, which is kind of, even after I was living there for like 5-6 years, every so often it would still hit me. I was like, oh man, this is New York City.
Right. Before we get into your time in New York, what did your parents do for work?
So I moved here with my grandfather's a pastor.
Okay.
Like a Christian pastor. And then at that time, he's a pastor of like a big church in Brazil. So that was kind of my background. And then every so often he would travel to either to preach, or they had like smaller churches around the world and stuff. And I remember growing up, anytime that he traveled to the States, I would just kind of joke. And I was like, hey, Grandpa, when are we going? Kind of thing. And then at that time, I was just finished high school. And I was finishing high school. And I kind of joked, I knew he was coming here for a weekend, coming to Florida. And that's when I was like, hey, Grandpa, when are we going? And he was like, well, if you got your visa, you can come. And I'm like, oh, crap, this is working. It's like, what? So that was on a Wednesday. That same day, we scheduled, at the time, it was a little easier to get visas and stuff. So we scheduled an interview at the American Embassy, at the American Consulate for Friday. And then between Wednesday and Thursday, we got in touch with someone that we knew, was like a brother of a musician that we knew from Brazil that lived in California. And he was like the musical director, like a big church in California and stuff. And he was like, hey, he can come here. He can, he can stay here. And my plan was to just like, oh, maybe I'll go and study for a few months. I wanted to go to Musicians Institute in California because some teachers there that I really like. So it's like, oh man, go to California for a few months. That might be cool. Just gotta like do, try to learn the language and talk to whatever, study a little bit. And so that was the plan. So the plan was to go to Florida, and then stay a weekend there from whatever my grandfather had to do, and then go to California. And he was going to come back. I was going to stay there with the people that we knew. So anyway, we scheduled the interview for Friday. Everything was fine. On Monday, I picked up my passport, and the following Wednesday, a week later, I was on a flight to Florida. Arrived on Thanksgiving Day.
Wow!
But we didn't buy tickets to California, so like I didn't realize that the tickets were so expensive on Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh,
so
brother, that's a lesson learned, I'm sure.
Yeah, we didn't know. Thanksgiving is not a thing in Brazil, not like here. So I was like, oh man. So I knew some people in Florida. We knew some people there. So I ended up just staying there. I was like, oh, this might be a cool place to stay for a bit until I figure out what to do. But my plan was never to live in the States. I was just going to stay for a little time and a little while, come back.
When did you start to fall in love with, or what was your first memory of enjoying music and then wanting to actually try to play it?
I think it was actually in church, like growing up in church.
What denomination, by the way?
My grandfather is Assembly of God. So it's like super Christian Pentecostal.
I'm not familiar with that one, but
yeah,
okay,
but it's like a Pentecostal church basically.
Got it.
So yeah, but we had great musicians playing there, and at some point we had like an orchestra and almost like a big band horn section, and so the band was like really good, and that was my first exposure to just seeing people playing, and I remember we showed up early one time because I was early there because I was with my grandparents or my mom, and they were having rehearsal. And the bass player, I saw him slapping, and I was like, man, this sounds really cool. I had no idea what he was doing. Yeah. And during a break, he's like, I was looking at it, and he was like, come here. She just put the bass on my lap, and it's like, I'm gonna grab a sandwich, and I kept like hitting the bass trying to get that sound that he was making when he was slapping. And I couldn't make anything, obviously, but that was one of the first moment that I remember. Was like, oh man, this is really cool. I want to do this.
Yeah. And was there any formal education that you took after that to help you?
So I took a few. Actually, I didn't start with bass lessons right away. I started like I was able to borrow a bass so I could kind of play a little bit, and I started taking guitar lessons. Like with there's a couple of friends that were brothers. They are brothers, and they were my best friends at the time, and we kind of had a healthy competition thing, We always like, so three of us like, all right, let's go and learn guitar and see who gets better fast, the fastest. So we had a competition thing, and so yeah, we started taking like acoustic guitar, like classical guitar lessons and stuff, just playing D major, arpeggiating, and that kind of stuff.
Was that fun and exciting for you, or was it, man, it's just classical music?
That was fine at that time. It gave me, but I mean, I didn't take that many lessons. It was like maybe like I'll say like a handful.
Okay.
But it was the beginning of it. Like kind of gave me some love for it, and that was probably, I don't know, maybe 11 at the time.
What kind of odd jobs were you doing for money at that time, or were you working at that time as you're learning the guitar?
Oh no, at that time I was living with my family, so I didn't have to. Yeah, because I was like 10, 11 years old, so my only responsibility was school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which I wasn't that great at either. But
when did you first start making money with your instrument?
So I think it was around
instruments, because you're very talented at both the bass and guitar
and bass and
piano. I've heard.
Yeah, I play some keys too, and it also comes like from growing up in church where. I started playing bass and guitar. I started playing bands, and in church, I remember I was always like the youngest guy there. The main keyboard player, he went to like the Navy or something. He was a little older, and for some of the services they had during the week, they didn't have anybody. So we had a piano at home. Like I knew a few chords, so I just threw myself in there and I started playing. So I had to play for those like smaller meetings and smaller services and stuff, and. So I wasn't great, but like that was a great school for me, and a lot of them, especially the smaller ones at that time, it wasn't super organized. So sometimes someone would just pick up the mic and be talking. They would just start singing a song, whether you knew it or not. You just had to go and follow it. So like find the key and put chord changes that fit over that and try to make it. So that was, I kind of hated it when that happened, but it was a great year training. Which I didn't know later. I was like, oh man, I'm glad I did that. Or even playing keys. I never loved playing keys or piano, but that was really good. And like it's been super helpful throughout my whole life.
Yeah. And also please feel free to grab your seltzer there if you want it, if you're thirsty.
I will.
Yeah. We do it right on this podcast.
I see that. Love it.
So flash forward to New York, day one. What's it like for you?
Day one, my friends had told me about New York, and it's like, hey, if you want to be a musician, New York's the place to be. You can come here for a little bit to check it out, and then figure it out. So I went there the first time for 2 or 3 weeks. That was around April of 2000, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many opportunities. Like I see bands playing, and it's like I could feel the energy was so different.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm back to Florida, which I didn't have much. I had like one luggage and one guitar with a little multi-fact thing.
How much money had you saved up for this trip?
Bro. I tell you, I moved to New York, 18 years old, with one bag, one guitar, and $500
Oh, wow. Okay.
to New York City.
Any other skill other than a musician to like maybe try to get a job? Had you waited tables?
I
were
knew
you gonna
that
instruct?
I knew that, and also like I barely spoke English at the time too.
I mean,
So it makes it even more
I'm
difficult.
scared for you.
Yeah.
You're going to a different country. You don't speak the language.
Yeah.
You have a really awesome skill, but I would be fucking scared out of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, in a way it was, but I was also like, I was just taking a day at a time, and I was also, like I said, just I was trying to keep my expenses at a minimum. So it's like I didn't want any big commitments with anything.
Yeah.
So luckily, I was able to live at a place like I didn't have to really pay rent for the very beginning, and then once I started paying rent, I was friends with them and stuff, and anyway, it was like really cheap.
Okay.
I was living with multiple people, but
Sure.
it was really cheap. So I was like, I wanted to keep as low as possible, because I didn't want to have a plan B, basically.
Got it. Okay.
So it's like, I'm gonna make plan A work, because I saw a lot of people. They're like, even immigrants and especially in the beginning, I was like around the Brazilians a lot, and I see people that like they were musicians and they will play on weekends, do the bar gigs, or do like play at church sometimes, but that they had like families and real careers or real jobs, and they never had time to do music.
Yep.
And I was like, I do not want to be that person. So I was like, I don't care. I don't need to have money. I just have to have enough, But even then, I had to do. If I really needed money for a short at the end of the month, I would pick up like a little job just for a day or two. So I've done like landscaping,
Okay.
office cleaning.
Yeah.
I work like cleaning supermarkets from like 12 to 8 a.m. for a week. But I will only make just enough for what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't stay, So I did that, I don't know, a handful of times.
Okay. At this point, how are you like networking with musicians in this new city? Were you going to bars, open mic nights? How are you meeting new?
It started, yeah. I mean, again, it started with the church scene at first.
Oh, okay.
With the musicians, and then from there were some people that were doing like little bar gigs, playing like Brazilian music or jazz and that kind of stuff. So I started doing a little bit of those, and then and it's all about who you meet. Like I haven't been to my whole life I've only done 2 auditions in my whole life. One gig I got, the other one I didn't. But it's all who you know.
Them, they missed out.
Or not.
That's true. Yeah, that could be true too.
But yeah, it was just like all you meet one person. And I remember at that time, especially the first year in New York, that at some point it got really tough. Like, and there was one point that the only money I was making. So I was trying to play like a little bars and do little things and stuff, but I didn't really know that many people. And I was playing at a Brazilian church Sunday night, and in the week they didn't give me anything, but they were covering the place for me to stay, so they didn't have to pay rent, which was great. And then
is that a fair trade?
At that time it was,
right.
and they used to have a Spanish service in the afternoon. It's like a smaller, maybe like 20, 30 people. And the pastor there, he was give me $20 to play keys, and I was the only musician. So I play keys for the service in the afternoon.
How long? Hour and a half?
Something like that, an hour and a half. And man, many weeks like those $20 were like the only money I had for the whole week.
Wow.
Which, like, if I go back and try to think about it, I can't think of. I don't know how I was able to live or do anything.
Yeah, one of the
it makes no sense.
What would you splurge on? Like a hamburger?
That was a time.
A milkshake.
That was maybe like a month or close to 2 months. That like almost every day I would have one meal a day, and the only thing that I could afford was I go to McDonald's to get the dollar menu.
Oh hell yeah!
Which was at that time it was $1.
Sure, yeah.
So I used to get the double cheeseburger, Mac chicken, and a small drink, and it was $3.25 with taxes.
Oh, you were living large then.
Yeah, and that was my only. And somehow I still gained weight, walking around but eating that one meal a day.
Yeah, I did all that bullshit in it,
Oh yeah,
but it still tastes so good. Don't get me wrong.
But at that time, that's all I could do. So at that time, it's like I was like, man, I don't think this is gonna work. I think I'm gonna go back to Florida, and if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to Brazil. I wasn't really attached to anything.
Yeah, okay.
And not to get over like a spiritual or anything, but doing that Spanish service, I made my decision. Like I made up my mind. Like, New York's it's not for me. I'm gonna leave. And I hadn't told anybody. I was gonna tell them that day that I was gonna leave that week. And I asked my mom my mom was gonna send me money because I couldn't even fly back to Florida. I had like no money. And I was and doing this the Spanish service that I was playing, which is going to be my last one, hadn't told anybody. This woman came to me and she started telling a bunch of stuff that I was going through at the time, like the struggles and stuff. And then one thing that she said, she's like, "Oh, God just wanted to tell you that like it's not time for you to leave yet." And I'm like, "Oh." It's like, "All right, God, if it is really you, I'll listen. Okay, okay. If that's really you telling me you're going to do something." So I decided to just, all right, let me hang around. So I didn't tell anybody. That was on a Sunday. The very next day, on Monday, I got my first recording session.
And God showed you the light.
He
He showed you the money too.
And that was it. And that was like, it wasn't like a big paying session, but it was like, it was the first recording session that just showed like, oh, something's happened. And that opened doors that became like a regular thing.
Yeah.
That I was doing like every week. I started having those sessions and then you start meeting more people from there and stuff, And then, it just expand, the amount of people that every gig, every session leads to like one person leads to another.
Right.
And it's like expanding your network.
Like speaking from your experience, what do you think, what characteristics of yourself helped you get more jobs? Were you patient? Were you understanding? Were you easy to work with? All of the above?
You try to be all of the above, but
is there one thing that really stuck out in your head? I'm like, man, I'm good at this, and this is, or like self-awareness.
You try to be easygoing and try to learn the stuff, bring a good vibe, and try to be true to whatever the gig or the music asks for. But it's also a learning process. And
was there a moment during that time like you thought you messed up royalty and you're like, oh my God, that person's never gonna call me back, or like I hit course over?
I've had so many.
Oh really?
I think most musicians, I'm definitely one of them, we have like an imposter syndrome. So like I would see certain people playing and I was like, oh man, that dude's so good. I was like, and sometimes I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, and I love what I do, and I always love what I do. But I would just like listen to stuff sometimes like, oh damn, I suck. I got so much to work on. Even to this day I still battle with that. Like people give me compliments and I'm like, in my mind I'm just like fighting not to just. I learned to just say thank you and move on. But before I would just like, oh man, you sounded great. I love that thing you did. And I'm like, yeah, man, that was cool. But my pedal was broken and this guitar was kind of kept going out of tune or whatever. I had a million excuses instead of just thank you. That's
Yeah. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But what was the difference between playing live and doing the studio session? Was there a different mindset?
Yeah, it was. The way I see it, it's like you want a balance of both. So when you're in the studio, everything is like is going over. Everything is super magnified. It's like a magnifying glass. Everything is like can be really nitpicky about things. So there's a lot of precision that needs to be there, which also took me a while to get to, but it's still a learning thing. So usually in the studio, you want to be as precise as possible. The basic like being time, being tuned, trying to play the right part, the right sound, but also bring a little bit of the live element of like bring a little excitement, maybe something that's like, oh, that kind of something you do live. And the live is the opposite, which is like it's a little looser, a little more fun. So you're doing that, but you want to bring a little bit of that precision and the awareness of the studio, Yeah.
So during this time when you're really booking these studio sessions, are you still practicing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I had phases that I was practicing a lot, and then times I was just wishing I was practicing but not doing it. Because sometimes like when you're playing a lot, when you're working a lot, when you're not doing it, you just want to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, even though I still do stuff with music because that's it's also my hobby and my passion, besides being my career. But sometimes like, oh, I don't want to be practicing anything specific. I just want to watch something about music or listen to music or just read or whatever, go to a show, but not necessarily sitting down and practicing all the time. And I feel like when I'm not working as much, that's when I tend to practice more.
So going back to that imposter syndrome, how do you corral that ideology about yourself? Because I've seen you play. I don't know what their imposter syndrome is coming from because I just don't see it. But obviously internally there's something different. So how do you temper down that mindset of like I don't belong here? What am I doing? Why did I just hit that chord?
It's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
And I think I'm getting better at it. And, you know, there's some days there's so many things. It could be just the vibe of the place or the type of gig or how comfortable you are with the music. Or a lot of times it's just like, you know, like the tone that you're having. You sometimes use the same stuff and like, oh, things just sound and feel different today, even though I'm playing the same guitar and the same gear that I was using. So all that stuff kind of affects a little bit. Or certain days you feel like you just can't connect as much as you would want to. But I also learned that my perception at that time is not other people's perception. Like yesterday, for example, we had a great gig with Andrea, but you know, I brought some different gear than I usually use.
You did not bring your Telecaster.
Yeah.
Why?
So I was playing a different guitar, and I was also trying a few different pedals that I usually don't use. So it was fine, but like as I was playing, I'm like, oh man, I should have brought this or that.
Yeah.
So it's like I was not struggling per se, but I wasn't as comfortable with my sound as I would have been, you know, usually. So
do you think you do that because you've gotten too comfortable on stage and you want to throw a little wrench in the
I like that and that stuff works sometimes as far as like different gear inspires me to play different things.
Oh, okay.
So, which is my excuse for having so many guitars and stuff too, or basses and all that. But it's true. Like there's like I feel like a Tele is usually like my home base, but I like playing different things. And I use for recordings all the time, different basses, different guitars. Yeah. But live is kind of a different thing. But I feel like certain tones make me play different. So I like throwing a curveball on myself once in a while. And most of the time, like it works. Sometimes like, oh man, I wish I had this, or it was like that, or sounding like that. But you just adapt and make it work. And I feel like it's a way to always keep pushing yourself, you know?
Yeah. One thing that I found in corralling my imposter syndrome is I'm just too exhausted to care anymore about my own feelings.
That's a good way of looking at it.
There's so many other things that I need to worry about. Let's just go ahead and put that to rest. And like, yeah, you're going to make mistakes, Ramon. And it's 9 times out of 10, no one, especially the client, is not going to notice. So why worry about
absolutely.
it? Like, eat yourself up in silence, and that's fine. But yeah, just you're fucking tired, Ramon. Just move on to something else. That's
it's not worth it. Just move on. But even talk about last night with Andrew, like I felt like that. Like I felt like I wasn't as comfortable, and like certain things, I'm just like, oh man, I feel like I can't put 2 good notes together. Even though like I was enjoying having fun, but it's like there was a little struggle that was happening at the same time. And then I just got like so many compliments after. People was like, oh my God, you guys, I feel like I was transcending. And the way you all connecting and stuff. And I'm like, it just shows that like my perception is not always people's perception. So I was like, yeah, that was good. I had my struggles, but like nobody notices or cares.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the way Andrea orchestrated the song arrangement, I think it was just a great show of
that's a great flow.
High energy with those really emotional, important songs.
Yeah.
And then you guys just did your thing, and she trusted you guys to do your thing, and it was an amazing show. So kind of going back to the New York days and talking of like just pay. You don't have to tell me numbers, but how did you increase your level of pay? How did you how did you have a negotiation with the people who were hiring you? Like, hey, now my payment is this.
Yeah, that takes time because in the beginning, I feel like you should just take whatever comes most of the time.
Right.
And it's part of it.
That's kind of with any business.
It's part of it, especially in the beginning, or like when you're young and you learn the things, like there's just so much you can demand. So I was just trying to do as much as I could, and most of the work that I did was like get called for it and it's like, hey, this is what it pays. Yeah. It wasn't like open to negotiation. It was like, this is what it is, whatever. Whether it's $1,000 is $100. Like, this is what it is. And then you have the option to say yes or no. So that's kind of how it was for the majority of it. And because I was like mostly a side man, I wasn't doing any of my own music or anything. I just took those gigs and stuff, but it's a great learning experience because you keep expanding your network, and your value goes up. Like the more people the better the gigs are because people keep calling for hopefully more stuff and bigger stuff, and things that pay better and. It gets to a point with like a higher caliber of musicians and stuff. And so I was just happy to like be doing it and be pushing. So there wasn't a lot of negotiation for I don't know, most of it, for 10 years.
Yeah.
And the negotiation didn't happen until I started doing more of my own thing or being involved with like bands and things like that.
Yeah.
That was like kind of part of it. Then I was like, all right, let's talk some numbers. But I always saw as, when it comes to negotiation thing, you always got to be willing to walk away from it with nothing.
Yeah.
That's always the thing. And I apply that to this day.
Mm-hmm.
If someone calls me for something, and certain things I do because it's like, oh, I want to be part of this no matter what.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that's just like, hey, even then, like I can't do it for that. Can you do it for, have a minimum in my head that I can take. And if that's not met, I'm willing to just walk away, and try not to have any hard feelings. Sometimes a person has just a certain budget. And if something that I want to be a part of, I'll make exceptions, obviously, but it's not like I have a set price for everything. But there are certain demands that, like, especially nowadays that I'm older, I'm not willing to compromise on. Basic things like if I'm traveling, I need my own room. It's like basic things like that. It's like, I don't care how much it pays. Like if I have to go and share a room with somebody for a week, I'm not doing it. Yeah. That's the kind of...
You're past that point in your career.
Yeah.
You're right.
So like things like that, as opposed to like I've traveled like Grammy-winning artists, and we're getting paid not that much and sharing rooms. Those days are over.
What a juxtaposition! You fucking won a Grammy, and then all of a sudden you're splitting a Motel 6 bed, queen size.
Yeah, bro. Because the musicians are just like the last one in the food chain, basically.
Yeah.
Like everybody goes before, everybody gets paid more.
Right.
I don't want to name names, but like I've been there too, and I've known tons of musicians who work like with the biggest artists in the world, and they still sharing rooms and making like crap money. Right. For the week, while the person is making like $1 million a show.
Any ideas on how to change that?
I think it has to be unified in a way. I think it's hard to do that when there are always musicians that are willing to take less.
That's the same in the industry.
Yeah, and I tell people, it's like, man, the whole thing about getting a gig because you undercut someone else, that actually hurts everybody.
Yeah. That is very true. But like, I think for you to like, even for me, I want to know, like, I need to have an understanding of that person's background and experience to justify what they're getting paid. So if they're saying yes to everything and they're the same caliber as me, and they're taking shit pay for, what I think should be a higher paid job, then yeah, that's poorly reflected on that guy. Mm-hmm. But if I just need, before I make that judgment, I just need to know their experience, because if they're 1 to 2 years in the industry, then sure, yeah, go do all the jobs that pay you. But yeah, I guess that information just comes from the networking thing and who you're working with, and knowing that other person's experience. But yeah, it's just, I agree with you in that I just don't know how to balance it out. I want to do all the jobs, and not all the jobs pay the same amount. Mm-hmm. And like, just trying to find the secret formula to what's going to expand my network, it's tough to do. Yeah. So
one thing that I noticed, especially moving to Austin, even when it comes to like, I've done a lot of the artist work but also a lot of like corporate gigs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, corporate's where it's at. Man, they pay a lot.
So in New York, the corporate gigs just pay considerably more than here.
Yeah. Considerably more.
Yeah. But so one thing that I noticed when I moved here is how in New York, when they sell a job, especially to like like a high paying client, they put a price. Usually the people that have a lot of money, they don't care about how much it costs most of the time, unless it's something, as long as it sounds reasonable.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna get way more headaches from people that are trying to be cheap and trying to save money.
Yep.
First of all, but in New York, like they'll say it's like, all right, we're gonna charge you whatever $100,000 for this event, or whatever, $500,000 or $1 million for this. But they'll show, this is what we're gonna do, and they show it to you that what you're getting is the best that you can get. This is the highest quality of everything. Like everything's top notch. People on top of the job is just like you don't gonna have to worry about anything. You're paying for this, but you're paying for it's like a luxury service.
Right.
And what I noticed when I moved to Austin is that a lot of the companies here, they just try to book by undercutting each other. So it's like, this band is charging $10,000.
Right.
Oh, don't worry, we'll do for $5,000.
Yeah.
And then they try to and then everybody suffers.
Yep.
And it's like you're not providing better service than the $10,000 band, but you're charging less because you try to undercut him, instead of just like, no, our band is worth $10,000, and I'll tell you why we're worth that much.
Right. I just had an interesting conversation with Zach Morgan. He's a keyboard player. Something on social media happened to where so Zach Morgan plays in covers bands, and this other, I would assume, competing cover band posted a photo of Zach Morgan's band using iPads, and they were trying to talk shit on Zach Morgan using iPads. And so he sent me that, and I'm like, I've never seen that before, but fuck that band that's shitting on you guys, because why should that be any consideration of whether or not you guys get hired or not? And on top of that, why are you talking shit about the Austin music community? That's just dumb. So I'm like, man, that's the first time I've seen that in my career. So your thoughts?
Well, I do use iPads on certain gigs when I have to.
Almost like, I would say that's fair. Like, you need to read notes.
But on the same note, some of the highest bands in New York that get the multi-million-dollar contracts, none of the singers have iPads in front of them.
Well, what about supporting musicians, like guitarists, drummers?
Sometimes they do for special things, but not all the time.
Oh, okay.
So in New York, and again, there are exceptions, but I work with like 3 of the biggest entertainment companies. I still work with them sometimes, and most of them, like with specific things, you have an iPad, like special songs or a special set about something specific. But for the regular dance set, like nobody should be, if you're doing wedding gigs, if you're reading charts for I Want to Dance with Somebody or Superstition, you should probably not be doing this.
Sure, yeah.
Sure, someone requested a special song, you want to have that, cool.
Yeah.
But you really reading Superstition is like, bro. And they also shows the difference between $100,000 band and a $7,000 band.
Okay.
It's like the more expensive band, they put on a show. They have like the dancers, the singers, they have choreography. They go into the crowd, they entertain. A lot of the musicians, sometimes they go out, they entertain. It's a different, they create an experience more than just like, oh, we have band just playing some songs for you and hope you enjoy. Unless you're doing like a cocktail hour or something, or dinner music, which is like you're the background, then sure, it doesn't matter. You're like glorified wallpaper at that point. But if you're doing like a dance set or put on a show, it's a different experience. And that's some of the difference I see between the super high paying bands and the not so much.
I understand that. I get that element. But whenever I go to a show, and maybe it's because I've been working with musicians for some time now, the last thing I'm looking at is whether or not they're looking at an iPad. Yeah. I'm listening to the sound. I'm looking at the performance.
And I think it's worse
if they're looking at iPads.
And I think musicians can get away with it. And I think it's for musicians, I think it's fine for the most part. What bothers me a bit if I see singers, because like especially the singers, they delivering the song, and because if they looking at lyrics, again, if the special song is different, they're not connecting with people that they're watching them. Now, can you imagine, like, sure, Andrea singing last night, she sang a new song, so she was reading, which was kind of funny. the way it happened.
She had Dave Scher hold the lyrics.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And then Leslie holding that too. But can you imagine, like, do you think Angel would connect as much if she was reading every song?
No.
If she had an iPad in front of her and every song she's just looking down and looking at lyrics?
No.
It's a different experience.
It is.
Yeah.
But also she's not doing covers.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, I get it. Maybe if you're doing a full-time cover band, maybe you shouldn't be. Maybe you should memorize the lyrics and whatnot. So I think, to each their own.
Yeah.
But I do get my thing with that
You still
whole post
should have been talking crap about people
exactly.
online.
My
That's
whole
messed
point
up.
is I get to understand you're trying to do something different in the marketing realm on social media. You're
Right.
trying to be jarring and shocking. And my point is I don't want to jive with anybody who wants to, shit talk another band, especially here in Austin.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
not the way you do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can say like, hey, we don't use iPads, and keep it at that. If that's your marketing thing and that's how you feel like you're going to attract a new audience, then
But not
by all
post
means.
pictures of the other
Right.
band.
That's fucking wild.
That's really messed up.
And another point, like if I just think you need to show your talent via video, hire me and I'll show you your talent. But I just think there's other ways to go about it. And I feel like social media marketing for musicians has its place and time. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on marketing on social media? Either by social media. Let's keep it there.
I'm clearly no expert.
No, but I feel like you have some thoughts.
Yeah. I feel like I'm using social media less and less nowadays.
Well, we'll see.
Because it is a great marketing tool. Absolutely. Like I see people, they can make careers like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I know people who make money off of all of those, and it's great. It could be like almost like a full-time job. But if you play it right, it could be very beneficial.
Right.
But I also know musicians that do extremely well, that play with the biggest artists in the world, and they have no online presence or barely any.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing, and also, again, there's no rule. They're like great musicians that post all the time and they're amazing. And they're also musicians that have thousands or millions of followers, and then they can really do a show live. Yeah. They don't have enough skills to do like a single gig,
Yeah.
People in their bedrooms like over editing things and making it look or sound a certain way, but in real life they wouldn't be able to do that. Right. But so there's both sides. But I think it's important to have an online presence, especially if you're doing your own music and trying to like get seen. As part of it, I still feel like most gigs and most work comes from networking.
Okay.
But that also happens. I've gotten called for gigs because someone saw something, a post or a video or something, So it's definitely valid.
I think it needs to be a marketing tool for yourself because there's a lot of people on these cell phones, and there's a great opportunity for you to get your next gig, especially if you're living in a city or a town that necessarily doesn't have any music venues. This is your only tool to get yourself out there.
Yeah.
Maybe back in 1999, if the internet was more prominent, you could have utilized the internet.
I could have used more for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I would have.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a very dangerous tool. I will say that. But
it's really easy to get distracted.
But with any other tool, you need to know how to manage it and utilize it and be responsible with it. So kind of going into your music, is your album done yet?
It is. I actually sent it to mastering yesterday.
All right. So
that's getting mastered, and I actually talk about social media. Once that's ready to come out, I'm going to be a lot more annoying on social media.
Awesome, because that's what I want. More authentic stuff. I want I want better music out on my music feed. I think people like you and other people who are amazingly talented need to be on there so we can hear your music, and then we can go to your shows, and that way it's just not death and terrible things happening to us. We get to enjoy your art and career. So how long have you been working on this album for?
Man, I've always I've had like little ideas or songs that I'll just record and just have, and I always had a plan to like, I'm going to do an album, but it never happened. I think the first time I thought about it was like maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something.
Wow.
And then
this album better be good.
And nothing ever happened. Anyway, the song's not that old, but I had, like my taste changes, the things things change, and I'm like, I listen to certain things that I did years ago, and I'm like, this doesn't represent who I am now, or I need to redo or change this, or if I wanted to use anyway. So I've always had that thought of wanting to do something. It just never got around to it because you always get busy with other people's music as a sideman most of the time.
Right.
And then I also have the group with my wife, Greedy Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So we work on that and stuff. And so for my solo stuff, I finally I wanted to do it, but man, I have a couple of friends, these super amazing couple, Tim and Tracy, that we were doing a show at 044 Center last year, an acoustic show that were there, and then they started asking me. I was like, hey, how's your music life coming, blah blah blah. And I'm like, trying to work on some stuff, but it's like it's super casual. And they're like, it's like, how can we support you? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, no, we want to help. Like we don't know about the process, but we wanna help with this. Like, what do you need? Yeah. And I'm like, are you saying what I think you're saying? It's one of those. But anyway, they were so awesome. So it was like, I felt like it was a confirmation. They're like, no, we wanna help. So they actually gave me financial support.
Awesome.
To be able to a lot of the stuff I had it was halfway done.
Yeah.
But I was able to like, oh man, now I can actually finish recording with some musicians that I want to use, and I'll be able to mix and master and print vinyls and and it was like just enough to finish what I needed to do and be able to push it a little bit. So I felt like there was a confirmation of like, man, I need to do this.
It's another sign from the man upstairs.
Exactly. It keeps happening.
Yeah, I know, right?
So at that point, I was like, you know what? I got to be more serious about this. So I started giving myself deadlines. So I was like, all right, I need to record this by this date. I want to have things mixed by. I know my month of December is going to be crazy, but I was like, I need to have all this and have stuff mixed by the beginning of January. So I booked a listening party for January 15th. And I was like, and that was like months before, but I was like, I'm just going to have those deadlines.
Yeah.
So I have to get things done.
Got it. Okay.
And I put that money aside. I'm like, I'm not touching this. I still got bills to pay. I got credit cards and just life stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm using this money just for this purpose. So it was cool because I ended up having some extra people that originally I wasn't planning on having on my record. So I got the great JJ Johnson on drums. He played 6 songs, and it's 10 tracks total. And a bunch of people. Henry Hay from New York, Keita, percussionist from Snarky Puppy, and I got a couple of horn players, Sean Giddings. It's got a bunch of like really good people.
I've heard it. It's really good.
Yeah,
now,
thanks, man.
I was there.
Yeah.
The last song, was it the same couple that had the baby do the thing?
Oh no, that wasn't.
Okay, different couple.
Yeah, different.
Okay,
Yeah, the couple that helped me, they here in Austin.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Tim and Trace, they're the best.
So when you go into studio, you have a set amount of time to finish whatever you're trying to finish. Do you think that helps the creative process, or does that impede it? Because I know musicians that continually tweak and work their songs and are like, it's not done yet. It's not done yet. And it never gets out. And it's always a continuous work in progress. So do you think it's beneficial to go in a studio, pay the amount of money, and then just, okay, we have to get it done now?
I do like that. Even though I have maybe three songs on this record that like the older songs, they already had it, and like I did a little bit of that, ended up redoing a few things. Mm-hmm. But most of them I wrote within the last 2 years. But I do like that, especially when I'm working with other people, like my good friend Joe James. I produced his last 2 records, and it's always like the last record especially, we had 2 days in the studio, and I was like, let's go, 2 or 3 days too, and let's go to the studio, cut the rhythm section live. So just put a time, and then we do overdubs and vocals and stuff, But I think it's important just to stay focused, and also you don't get into like we talk about, just like, oh, you keep tweaking things forever. Because I feel like a record should be, or a song should be a snapshot of where you are at that particular moment. Because anything that we do, like I listen to stuff that I did even like, I don't know, a year ago or shoot, last week. And I'll be like, oh, I mean, this kind of sucks. It could be better, you know? So at some point, like, you know what? You just got to do the best you can. And you know, if it sounds good at the moment, just move on from it. And that hopefully is a snapshot of that moment in life where you were in life.
Before we move on, I want to go back to New York. There was a very unfortunate event that happened in 2001, 9/11. Were you there when that happened?
I was there.
Talk to me about that day, and how did that change the course of just business happening in New York?
Yeah, that was like the beginning, because I was living in New York for a year, less than a year and a half.
Wow.
So, and I remember I had done I wasn't doing any like high-paying gigs or anything yet at the time. But I had done a gig in Chicago, I think, that weekend, and I had just gone home on Monday. The thing happened on Tuesday, 9/11. And I remember a friend of mine that was with me in Chicago, he called me Tuesday morning. He was like, man, are you okay? Just checking you. I was like, yeah, why?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, man, you see the you know, the attack in New York, the towers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Dude, you're joking. Seriously, what's up?
What part of New York are you living in?
I was in Queens at the time.
Okay.
But it's like close to 59th Street Bridge. So it's like close to Midtown. So I could walk a few blocks from where I was, and I could see the smoke in the building, you know. And I remember even like taking the train, and like the whole part of downtown was just like smoke like for days, which was and it was so weird, like seeing people, everybody was just, you know, walking around like quiet, and there was always that I don't know, that feeling of something might happen, or something else might happen, you know. It was a weird time, and I remember I was like, man, I just got here. I was starting to get some work, starting to do some little gigs and stuff, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. And I'm like, what the hell? What's happening? You know? But luckily, you know, let's say like New York is strong. But in a way, it's true, because like pretty quickly things started like picking up, and people's like, you know, just do what we got to do. Yeah. Business were trying to get back on their feet as soon as possible. And pretty quickly, like things were turning around, and gigs and shows are coming back up. And
so I know a lot of I've spoken with Nancy Copeland, who, you know, curates a lot of the music, or I think does all the curating for music for the Christmas Bazaar that she throws. Yeah. She said that a lot of the music, or the not venues, but the restaurants at the airport, they see an uptick in business when they have live music playing at their restaurant or whatever they have there. Is that kind of the same thing going on in New York? Like, if you have music there, you're likely to have a better, I don't know, business?
I don't think that's true anymore.
Okay.
And part of it, I think to an extent, there's business people that come in for it, but it's kind of sad because, man, there's so many places that close down.
In New York?
In New York. Okay. Like that had live music. Yeah. There's a lot of less places to play.
I mean, CBGB's, right?
CBGB's gone. The 55 bar is gone. Rockwood, man, I was playing Rockwood like sometimes like 2-3 times a week sometimes. You know, that was like, and it sucks that like one of the very few places that you can play now, most of them have cover bands. So there's like very few places that you can still play original music. I feel like Rockwood was one of the last ones that you could do a show playing original stuff and still like pack the house and you know, make something decent. But now it's like, I mean, the Bitter End is probably like the only one, and everything else is like cover bands, top 40 for like 3-4 hour gigs that barely pay anything. That kind of sucks.
That does suck. But in my head, I'm hearing a solution in that you finding a balance of doing the cover gigs, get the people in, and then sneaking in your own.
I mean, you could
work. Yeah, is that bad? Is that like
no? It's not. It's not bad. It's just
it seems like a good business tactic.
It's just that like a lot, especially in New York, like those gigs, they require a lot of you, and they don't pay enough.
Got it.
I don't think so. You can throw some original stuff, but But if you're doing like 3 sets a night or 4 sets, by the time you get to the second set, everybody's just drunk and they just want to party and dance, and nobody cares about what you do. You can do like, it's like, oh, and this is really thoughtful song that I wrote, because then at the point nobody cares.
I just see it as an opportunity.
It could be, and I mean, there are some people that do it and they throw the original stuff in there, but like it has to fit with whatever else they're playing.
Right.
You know, and it sucks because a lot of people, especially if you're starting, if you're not established yet, and you want to do your original stuff in New York, it's like you're basically paying to play. It's hard to, like, if you want to have a band, forget it. Luckily, you play an instrument, so you can kind of do some stuff by yourself or just have one other person. But it's, you know, it's really hard to get a following and be able to pay a full band to do your own shows. You know?
It's getting tougher to just basically have a band.
Yeah, and the cost is, everything is so expensive in New York too. You know, it's hard to.
And just to get, you know, 3 or 4 other people along with your idea to believe in the cause, that's even tougher thing to do. That's interesting. Do you think what does the future of music look like, since, you know, it's really hard to form bands these days?
Man, I think people are doing more stuff themselves. You know, back in the day you had a whole team of people, and now one artist is doing you're recording your own stuff at home. You got to learn how to edit videos, and you're doing your posts. You know, you make all your posts, YouTube, Instagram. You know, you're promoting. You got to be a marketing expert. You got to be an expert at everything now. You can have, you know, before you could just focus on the music and have a team of people helping with all the other stuff. But now you kind of have to be all the things. You got to be a manager. You got to be a booking agent.
That's true.
You know, but in that same way, on the bright side, I feel like it gives a lot more power to the people too, to the artist. So if you're willing to put in the work, you could be very successful. We have a couple of friends in New York, and they kind of a niche thing. It's just a duo. Acute Inflections. The husband, he plays bass, and she's just upright bass and vocals. And they have a great show. And they built the whole thing. The whole business is just them too. And they travel and they do tours, and they don't use Live Nation, all that stuff. They created their own ticketing thing. They book churches, venues, and like theaters and stuff all over the country, and they book their own tour, and they making more money than they were doing with like a big agency.
Right.
So if you're willing to put in the work, it's more work, but like you have a lot more part. You don't need a record label anymore. Mm-hmm. Even like, you know, think about Corey Wong with what's his band? Anyway, they sold out Madison Square Garden by themselves. They have no label, which just self-promoting. It just self-promotes. So like that's kind of cool. That gives me hope.
Does Madison Square, is that owned by Live Nation yet?
I'm not sure.
I would assume that they would have their eyes on that place.
Yeah.
Live Nation they're a bunch of fucking bastards, man. I'll say it. The amount of
money, huge monopoly.
The amount of money that they steal, and it's all in black and white. It's all in the contracts. Man, they have. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's
and again, the artist gets the least amount of money from that, and the musicians make way below that. So it's just like, it's rough, man. I mean, if you can make your stuff, and I've been telling people, because you know every venue wants to take a cut, and they have all their fees and stuff. If you can, depending on what type of act, if you're gonna just go somewhere, just buy out the place for the day, whatever rent or venue, whatever it is, a theater. Just buy out for the day outright, and then just bring your people, promote yourself, and you can make all the money. Yeah. Instead of like, oh yeah, we'll do a door situation, we'll do this. Like they'll keep adding more fees and stuff, and so yeah, I'm a big fan and support of people who try to do things themselves. Yeah, you know,
that's kind of the American way. You kind of have to do it yourself if you want to make a name for yourself now. Yeah. So flash forward to getting to Austin. What brought you here?
So Courtney and I, we had just started dating actually.
Courtney's your wife?
Yeah. We had just started dating December 2019. Oh. We're friends for like a year before, and you know, started doing gigs and stuff, and so anyway, 4 months into it, pandemic hit. lockdown, everything shut down.
All in New York.
All in New York. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And she was living
one disaster after another.
Yeah. She had her apartment. Her roommate had moved out to California. I was living by myself, and there's like, so it's just by spending a lot of time together. So anyway, during that time, maybe a couple of months in after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I mean, she's like, hey, I don't know if it's still kind of new. I don't know if it's a we conversation or just me, but I was like, I don't know how long I can stay in New York. I'm thinking about leaving, going somewhere, but they're like, we're together now, and at that moment I was like, I don't think I'm ready yet, and that might be maybe like April or May, something like around that time. And every so often she would ask, like, hey, if we go somewhere, like, how I feel, and I'm like, all right, maybe at the end of the year, with December we'll talk about it. Yeah. Anyway, during that summer, I think it was June, we went to with my family, my sister and my nephew and my niece. We went to St. John just on vacation for a week, and one of the places that Courtney and I were talking about was like, all right, if you were to move, just hypothetically, where would it be? And it kind of came down to Nashville or Austin because they're like music cities, and
yeah.
And anyway, so we're on that trip in June. We're talking with my sister. My sister, she worked for an IT company. She was living in Jersey at the time, and she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about moving to Austin because the headquarters of my company is there." And she's like, "I don't want to be in Jersey anymore." And I was like, "Oh, Courtney and I were just talking about Austin." So anyway, that kind of started to like become more real at that moment. But it's still like, oh, maybe at the end of the year we'll talk about this again, and So anyway, Courtney's lease was up in August, and she had the choice to renew or not. And we talked about it, and at some point, I don't know what came over me. I was just like, beginning of August, I'm like, you know what? Let's just go. She's like, what? I was like, yeah, let's just go. I can always come back. I still had work in New York, so I was like, I'll just keep flying back and we'll figure it out. She's like, really? I was like, yeah. So we drove her car down. She knew someone here, so we drove her car down. We found an apartment in North Austin, and we're here for like 4 or 5 days. We found an apartment, left her car here, flew back to New York, and 2 weeks later, I had a moving truck with my stuff, her stuff, and my sister's stuff coming down.
That's a lot.
And then I rented I left my car in New York at that time, but I rented like a minivan so I could bring all my guitars and my more expensive gear stuff. I was like, I'm not trusting a moving company, for freaking, it's going to take like 6 weeks to get my stuff. So I made that drive a second time, September 1st.
How long is that drive?
25 hours.
Oh my God.
So we drove to Tennessee, and then spent the night there, and then drove the rest of the way the next day. So it was like a 2-day drive, basically.
What was it about Austin that you really liked?
Man, I had been here a couple of times. The last time I was here was 2011, I think. I was with Estelle, and we did a South by. We did a couple of South by gigs.
Okay.
But I remember I didn't really know anybody here. I know a couple people that had moved here. I'm not close with them, but I kind of knew them. But I knew it was a music city, and I figured it was like, there's Dallas, Houston, close to an airport, and I also like the fact that Texas has some good like tax incentives and things like that for musicians, and like
we also got barbecue.
no income taxes. Barbecue is great. So that was a big and again, it was the same mentality of when I moved to New York, where I was like, hey, we go for a little bit, I'll keep traveling. If it doesn't work out, we'll come back. There's not that pressure of like, I have to make it work,
Right.
Spend some time, see what happens, and well.
One of the things that you said in your debut showcase of the podcast of your album, that you said that, musicians here actually are trying to create their own music. Or you said something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Elaborate on that.
So that a huge part of, which I didn't know that much about here, but being here for this past 5 or so years, man, there's a great music community here. I really like it, and I really love how there's a lot of people doing their own music, and I was doing a lot of corporate stuff, and I still do it once in a while. But a few years ago, I just decided to stop doing that on a regular basis. I did that when I first moved here, so I also like meet people and stuff. But was like, I don't want to be doing weddings and cover gigs every week, for many reasons. But it's like I want to be involved with things that I enjoy doing more. It's like I don't want to be playing Uptown Funk every weekend.
That's a good song, though.
It's a great song, but I think I've had enough of it for a while. But now it's like if I get to play it, I'm like, oh, I'm actually enjoying this. I'm not dreading it. But I like being like more productive, more creative opportunities. So I like playing with artists. So I've been doing a lot of stuff here, which is just even sometimes some gigs pay really well, some not so much. But I enjoy pretty much everything that I work on now. I still do a lot of sessions, a lot of work from home and other studios, and then all the artists in town, so like Andrea, or I got to play with Dave Shea or David Grissom, Joe James, and even doing our own stuff with Gritty Sunset. Have original stuff with my wife, or now my instrumental record too, and playing with JJ Johnson or whoever. There's like so many amazing artists in town, and I really enjoy that. Even if it's not my own music, but if I'm able to support someone doing the original stuff, it's like that gives me a lot of satisfaction. I really like that.
Yeah. What's your favorite venue here?
Man, sound wise, the Moody Theater, okay. but I feel like Saxon Pub is like my second home.
That's what I was fishing for. That's
that's
what I was going for.
Yeah, I love playing sax. I feel like I'm there every week.
What is it about the Saxon Pub that you like?
The sound's usually good, and I get
great.
I get part of it is like the people that I play with there, which is usually Grissom and sometimes Andrea, man, I really love the people that go there. There are a lot of regulars that come to Saxon every week, and I feel like I've become friends with a lot of them. I get to see people all the time, and it's just a very welcoming and supportive community. And you see people there really enjoying the music and having great experience. It's a good time, man. I really enjoy it. I always look forward to it. I'm there most Tuesdays with Grissom, and I always look forward to it.
What time's that set?
It's the happy hour, 6 to 7:30.
Okay, cool. Drinks are half off, I would assume, or something like that.
I'm not sure. I get free drinks.
Yeah, of course you do. That hazy IPA, the Electric Jellyfish, right?
Oh man, that's my jam. Can't have too many though. That'll mess you up. But I've been drinking a little less now too.
I know, me too.
But I still gotta have.
I think it's one of those nights where I'm like, do I want to crush like 5 Miller Lights, or do I just want to have one really good beer?
I know, just enjoy it.
I'm now more so like I'm just gonna have one really good beer.
Yeah.
Electric Jellyfish is up there. McConaughey's is also another one of my favorites.
That's a nice one
too. So a couple more questions. We're well over an hour here. Mm-hmm. What are something that venues or bookers could do better in? Because you have this mantra, be better.
Oh, yeah.
But what are some things that they could do, in generally speaking, not,
Man, first thing that comes to mind was... All right, I love Austin, but one of the things that they need to get better, it's like answering emails. Bro.
Across the board. That's what every musician is.
It drives me nuts. Like, dude, we're trying to book a show. And it's like, I sent 6 emails, 7 emails. If you don't want, just say no. Like, but it's like there's no response. Like, we're playing. One of the exceptions here is Colin at Monk's Jazz.
Okay, yeah.
He's usually pretty great, and answering like it's great. Which is actually I have a show there. I'm playing my original music on March 3rd.
Okay, right on. Good.
So if this comes out before then,
it will be.
Oh yeah. So 333 at Monk's Jazz.
Right on. Yeah, Gil Del Bosque is playing there. No, Paulo is playing there.
They play there all the time.
Yeah. So I'm gonna check them out on Thursday.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead.
But anyway, so. Yeah, and it's so hard, man. Even this band, I play with this band Fork, which is like some of the guys from Snarky Puppy. It's a really fun band. We do usually like a couple European tours a year, and but we have some of the guys in Texas and the keyboard player Henry, he's in New York. So sometimes we book like some Texas shows to like try out new songs and kind of rehearse and stuff. And I really wanted to do another a venue here in Austin, and I sent multiple emails Henry sent multiple emails. We could not get anything because we're trying to get a place that's maybe a little bigger than Monks, even though we love Monks. But but that didn't work out. So, you know, we reached out to Monks and like right away, he's like, yeah, man, you guys are in, whatever you need, you know. But it just sucks that like you're trying to put shows and yeah, and people will support. Like people will come and they'll support your show. But the people booking those venues, man, they're like, dude, just answer the email. It's like, especially if that's your main job, even if it's just say no, it's gonna take 10 seconds. Open an email, just like, oh, not available. It's like, not interested right now. Whatever it is,
right?
You know, but just kind of leave you hanging all the time. You have to be chasing them down. That's really annoying.
Yeah. No, that's that across the board. That's the number one issue that I think all musicians have told me. Like, yeah, they just don't answer emails. There's no communication.
Yeah,
and that sucks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well over an hour. That's all I got. One more question. One last question. What would you tell that young Eli back in Brazil? What are some words of wisdom you would give him after all your experience now? And that's a tough question.
Yeah. I would say like everything's going to be okay, but that's not like, I never really worry too much. You have moments that you struggle, but it's
you don't like, seem like a guy who worries a lot.
No, I usually just kind of tend to go with the flow, or sometimes you make the flow, but I don't know. There's certain things that like from a technical perspective, like a musician's thing, I wish I had worked a little more on certain musical foundations. I was always playing a lot, but I wish I had like practiced certain things. Just on a technical level, like with more consistency, you know, just like I see like certain flaws in my playing that like I try to work on it now, but I was like, oh man, if I had to work on this at the beginning, I wouldn't have to do it now, you know, things like that. And
so learn and practice good habits.
Technique. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just like practice certain things. Like I wish that my music reading was better. Certain just technical things of bass and guitar, you know, that I think could be better. I'm trying to improve them now, but I wish I had like someone, just since I'm mostly self-taught, that like I had someone to really tell me, like, no, you should not do this, you know, play like this, or I don't know.
Got it. Okay.
So that's probably, and I guess for the most part, I think I did okay. Try to be a good person, try to be consistent, reliable, on time.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Eli. Tuesdays, Saxon Pub. Every week? I'm
there. I'm there at least half of the time.
Okay. And then March 3rd?
Yeah, so March 3rd at Monks. I'm playing actually Fork. We have a one-day show also at Monks the Wednesday before the 25th.
Got it.
February 25th.
Okay.
And then the 26th, which is Thursday. I hope I'm getting those dates right.
Cool.
We're doing Unplugged at the Chapel, a river band with Grady Sunset and Jennifer Foster.
Oh, there you go.
So that'll be a fun show too. So
all right, dude.
So a lot of good music that week.
Excellent. I look forward to always hearing you play. Thank you so much for coming along.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Later.